Text 29. Sarvabhutastamatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshanaha.
A true yogi observes me in all beings and also sees every being in me. Indeed, the self-realized person sees me, the same Supreme Lord, everywhere.
Text 30. Yo mam paschati sarvatra sarvam cha mai paschati tasyaham na pranashyami sacha me na pranashyati.
For one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me, I am never lost, nor is he ever lost to me.
Text 31. Sarva bhuta stitam yo mam bhajati ekatvam astita sarvata vartamanopi sayogi mai vartate.
Such a yogi who engages in the worshipful service of the Supersoul, knowing that I and the Supersoul are one, remains always in me in all circumstances.
Text 32. Atmopam yena sarvatra samam paschati Arjuna sukham va yadi va dukham sayogi paramau mataha.
He is a perfect yogi who, by comparison to his own self, sees the true equality of all beings in both their happiness and their distress, O Arjuna.
Text 33. Arjuna uvacha yo yam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana etasyaham na pashyami chanchalatvad stitim stiram.
Arjuna said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady.
Text 34. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayoriva suduksaram.
For the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna, and to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind.
Text 35. Shri Bhagavan uvacha asamshayam mahabaho manurdurnigraham chalam abhyasena tu konteya vairagena cha greyate.
Lord Krishna said, O mighty armed son of Kunti, it is undoubtedly very difficult to curb the restless mind, but it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment.
Text 36. Asamyatatmana yogo dusprapa iti me mati vashyatmana tu yatata shakya vaptum upayataha.
For one whose mind is unbridled, self-realization is difficult work, but he whose mind is controlled and who strives by appropriate means is assured of success. That is my opinion.
Text 37. Arjuna uvacha Aiti Shraddhayo Peto Yoga Chalita Manasaha Aprapya Yoga Samsedim Kam Gitim Krishna Gacchati.
Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the destination of the unsuccessful transcendentalist who in the beginning takes to the process of self-realization with faith, but who later desists due to worldly mindedness and thus does not attain perfection in mysticism?
Text 38. Kachinnobhaya vibrastash chinabhrami vanaschati apratisto mahabaho vimudo brahmanapati.
O mighty armed Krishna, does not such a man who is bewildered from the path of transcendence fall away from both spiritual and material success and perish like a riven cloud with no position in any sphere?
Text 39. Etanme samshayam Krishna chetamarhasi ashesataha tvadanya samshayasyasya chetana hi upapadyate.
This is my doubt, O Krishna, and I ask you to dispel it completely. But for you, no one is to be found who can destroy this doubt.
Text 40. Shri Bhagavan uvacha Partaneva namutra vinasha tasya vidyate nahi kalyana krit kaschid durgatim tata gacchati.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Son of Buddha, a transcendentalist engaged in auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. One who does good, my friend, is never overcome by evil.
Text 41. Prapya punya kritam lokan usitva shashvati sama shuchinam srimatam gehe yoga brasto bijayate.
The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy.
Text 42. Athava yoginam eva kule bhavati dhimatam etadi dulabhataram loke janma yadidrasham.
Or, if unsuccessful after long practice of yoga, he takes his birth in a family of transcendentalists who are surely great in wisdom. Certainly, such a birth is rare in this world.
Text 43. Tatra tam buddhi samyogam labate porvadekam yatate cha tato bhuyaha samsiddho kuru nandana.
On taking such a birth, he revives the divine consciousness of his previous life, and he again tries to make further progress in order to achieve complete success, O son of Kuru.
Text 44. Purvabhyasena teneva hriyate yavashopi sa jijnasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate.
By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures.
Text 45. Prayatnadyatamaanastu yogi samshuddha kilbisaha aneka janma samsiddha tato yati param gatim.
And when the yogi engages himself with sincere endeavor in making further progress, being washed of all contaminations, then ultimately achieving perfection after many, many births of practice, he attains the supreme goal.
Text 46. Tapasvebhyo dikho yogi jnanibhyo pi mato dikaha karmibhyascha dikho yogi tasmad yogi bhavarjuna.
A yogi is greater than the ascetic, greater than the empiricist, and greater than the fruitive worker. Therefore, O Arjuna, in all circumstances, be a yogi.
Text 47. Yoginam api sarvesham madgatenantaratmana shadavan bhajate yo mam samyukta tamo mataha.
And of all yogis, the one with great faith, who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself, and renders transcendental loving service to me, he is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, that was fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you. Naika Mataji, your English was impeccable, very nice. And Ravi Prabhu, amazing, proper pronunciation, absolutely flawless. Thank you so much, both of you. Hare Krishna.
Only with your blessings, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, we will now just share the presentation and go from there. So first, I need to do this. Okay, so we continue the reading from the 6th chapter, coming towards the end of this chapter. So let's summarize, as we normally do, what we have gone through so far. So next 1 to 4, a little bit of a continuation from the previous chapter, advancing in yoga through detached work. 5 to 9, the Yoga Rudra stage, giving up work. And 10 to 32, the further stages in the yoga practice, this is where this section is discussing all the Ashtanga yoga practice. And 33 to 36, necessity of controlling the turbulent mind. And then this current section, Arjuna is talking about the destination of the unsuccessful yogi. So today's verse is 44. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, text 44. Purvabhyasena tenaiva kriyate yapasopi saha jignasurapi yogasya shabda brahmati vartate. By virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted to the yogic principles, even without seeking them. Such an inquisitive transcendentalist stands always above the ritualistic principles of the scriptures. We'll go through the purport. It's on 2 pages. So let me just request, let's see, going down here, we can ask Hitesh Prabhu can do the first page if you can, please, Hitesh Prabhu. And then Mitali Mataji can do the second page if you don't mind.
Yes, Prabhu, sure.
Hitesh Prabhu, yeah. Are you there, Hitesh Prabhu? Not there? Okay, who's there? So Mitali Mataji, maybe you can do the first one. And okay, no, sorry, that Ajay Mukund Prabhu is there. Ajay Mukund Prabhu, you can do the first one. No?
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Hare Krishna, go for it.
Advanced yogis are not very much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 333.7, such disregard of Vedic rituals by the advanced transcendentalists is explained as follows. Aho batashva vachoto gariyam yajjive vagre vartate nama tubhyam te pustapaste juhuvu sasnur arya brahmanuchu nama grinanti yete. O my Lord, persons who chant the holy names of your Lordship are far, far advanced in spiritual life, even if born in families of dog eaters. Such chanters have undoubtedly performed all kinds of austerity and sacrifices, bathed in all sacred places, and finished all scriptural studies. Hare Krishna.
Can I read, Prabhuji? Hare Krishna.
I was muted, I'm sorry. Yeah, Mitali Mataji, please go ahead, second page.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. The famous example of this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakura Haridasa as one of his most important disciples. Although Thakura Haridasa happened to take his birth in Muslim family, he was elevated to the post of Namacharya by Lord Chaitanya due to his rigidly attended principle of chanting 300,000 holy names of the Lord daily. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And because he chanted the holy name of the Lord constantly, it is understood that in his previous life, he must have passed through all the ritualistic methods of the Vedas, known as Shabda Brahma. Unless, therefore, one is purified, one cannot take to the principle of Krishna consciousness or become engaged in chanting the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Let me just put my charger on. Okay, yes, thank you, Mitali Mataji. Thank you for reading that. Thank you. Okay, yeah, so Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Ajnanati Nirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Nitam Tam Sujivam Sadavaitam Sapadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Spitasya Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostite Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Nitinamine, Snikta Chetu Supraneta Vagvinam Charasaputam Prabhupada Katapana Naumi Bhakti Charu Sudam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine, Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Bhashyata Deshatarine, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So, just this particular mini section, we can do a little recap. Arjun's concern was that this very difficult process that Krishna has mentioned in this chapter about Ashtanga Yoga. He's saying, what happens to somebody who starts this process and doesn't finish? What happens? Is he lost? He uses in the translation, so you see like a riven cloud. But sometimes you see in the sky, there's a whole mass of clouds, and all the clouds move away, but just by chance, a little part of the cloud is left behind. That's called like a riven cloud. So that person like that, he's just lost in between two places. So Krishna is then saying that he says no, a yogi is never lost. And then he says that he takes birth in a family of righteous people or a family of rich aristocracy. And if he's unsuccessful after a long practice, that means he's almost made it. Then he is born in a family of transcendentalists. And he says such a birth is very rare. In that particular verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very unusually mentions his own situation. He mentions that himself and his spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, were both fortunate enough like this to be born in transcendentalist families. So, and then in yesterday's verse, Krishna is saying that he revives his divine consciousness because of his previous life. And he again tries to make further progress. So now this verse, today's verse, is a follow-on, actually. It's more or less following the same theme about how somebody has already performed some activities in the past life for him to have come to this stage. So we'll start, as usual, we'll share in the text of the purport. So here in the text, these particular words, Purvabhyasena tenaiva hriyate yavaso pisa jignasu api yogasya. So by virtue of the divine consciousness of his previous life, he automatically becomes attracted by the yogic principles, even without seeking them. So this is quite amazing. When you think about it, how a person sort of, going through normal life, but suddenly just something sparks, a little spark he gets from somewhere, and it starts, his bhakti starts to develop very fast. I know of people who have been completely in material lives, and I'm an example of that. Just by coming in touch with some devotees, pure devotees, life just completely changed. So it is not, okay, of course, it's something to do with the mercy of that devotee that came to us. But apart from that, as this verse is saying here, that we must have all of us who are on this call today, all of us must have done some past activities, some previous Krishna conscious activities for us to now come to this stage so we can start and continue. And one other evidence of this is that you will find sometimes the devotee comes in, in his late 20s, 30s. In my case, I can be much, much later than that. But some of these devotees who come, especially if you think about the Western culture, they come without even hearing the name of Krishna ever. And they come in and within, months, they are reciting verses, they are, chanting everything, and they're really making fast progress. So there can be only one explanation. Of course, they are bright people, so they're able to catch on very quickly. But more than that, it is that they have had the exposure previously. There is no other explanation. We have devotees like Gauri Prabhu. Gauri Prabhu can recite. He came to Krishna consciousness when he was in his late 20s, and he's reciting all 700 verses of the Bhagavad Gita, aside from all other verses that he may know from Bhagavatam and other scriptures. But Bhagavad Gita, he can recite all 700 verses without looking and explain them in detail. So that just doesn't come by the process of this life. It has come with some bias, some not bias, but some divine consciousness from previous life, as it says in here. And again, you look back at all these wonderful early devotees of Srila Prabhupada, right? We have some brilliant devotees who came up from here. They all met Prabhupada just by chance. Well, of course, nothing happens by chance. Everything is arranged by Krishna because of the previous consciousness. But you can see how we had amazing personalities who became such powerful preachers, such wonderful devotees in such a short time. Prabhupada himself, from 1965, he left India, and then at 66 he really started preaching properly, because that's when the ISKCON was actually established, and he left this world in 77. So in that short 11 years, right? Now some of us have been practicing for much more than that. Still, we haven't come to a fraction of the progress that these early devotees made in that short time. So two reasons. One is, as this verse says, divine consciousness from his previous life, and also the connection with this pure devotee, Prabhupada. So those two things propel these wonderful devotees into becoming tremendous Krishna conscious personalities. And we still have them around, so many of them. Giriraj Maharaj, Shivram Maharaj, Ranath Maharaj, my own Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj. So okay, he's not Western, but Indian, but Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. Oh my God, so many names. And these are all just absolutely amazing characters. So you can see it is happening from this. So because of the previous sanskaras, they become inquisitive. And when you genuinely want to know something, you will make an effort and you will imbibe it and you will go on preaching it. So there's the examples here. And then just in the beginning of the verse, in the chapter, in the purport, Prabhupada saying that advanced yogis are not much attracted to the rituals of the scriptures, but they automatically become attracted to the yoga principles, which can elevate them to complete Krishna consciousness, the highest yoga perfection. So you see, all these rituals are not so attractive, even to all of us. We're not so much attracted to the rituals, because we have seen by the preaching of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada and other senior devotees in the moment, that that is not something which was for previous ages. We understand this. That yes, in previous ages, these processes were very powerful, but in Kali Yuga, they are not going to work so well. So we need to stick to what will work in Kali Yuga. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally came and gave us the process for this Yuga, which is Nam Sankirtan. That's all we need to do. And that's all we are interested in, to try and make our life perfect by doing this. So there's a purport in the Bhagavad Gita 2.4.6. Prabhupada is speaking about this. He says, it is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals. Nor is it possible to study all the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time. So you see, in previous ages, as we have discussed before, people lived for a very, very long time. So they had the time, not only the time, but they were that much more powerful than us. So they could do all this. But right now, it's not possible. Prabhupada continues, it requires time. It requires time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purpose of the Vedas. So literally, by this paragraph, it says that not possible. So why waste your time? So then, when we hear about the Vedas, we also hear that the Vedas recommend rituals in the Karmakanda section. There's a large part of the Vedas which is called the Karmakanda section, and it recommends these kind of rituals. So why do the Vedas do that? Why don't the Vedas just leave that out and just give us pure Krishna consciousness? Can anybody say what they think? Why the Vedas give us all those things?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Rupa.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. My humble obeisances unto you. I'll just make a guess answer. I think because of the three modes of material nature, because of mode of ignorance and mode of passion, Vedas are very vast. It's vast knowledge. So it is catering for all the three modes, as well as obviously the Turiya stage, the Krishna conscious stage, transcendental. So Vedas are everything. That's why they are giving different things to different people, type of people.
Perfect. That's the exact answer, actually, Rupa. Thank you, Rupa Mataji.
Thank you,
Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Because there are all kinds of people in this world, and they're all on different levels because of the modes of nature, how it works on different people, and the sanskaras they have come with from previous lives. So as Rupa Mataji mentioned, because of that, there are a vast majority of the people in this world are in the lower modes. And if the Vedas only focused on the higher modes, then all those people would miss out. So for them, the Vedas are recommending all these rituals. And the whole idea of the rituals is by performing the rituals, one becomes cleansed of the lower modes or habits and gradually makes advancement. Right? The rituals are a means for achieving something higher. The problem is, in this world, unfortunately, that people get stuck in the rituals and they do not move forward because they haven't been taught properly, because even the teachers themselves, they may not be very clear about the purpose of these rituals. So their ritual becomes their life, and they then just get stuck and make no advancement. So Prabhupada says, if rituals remains just, this is not from this purport, from some other purport, rituals just remain just rituals, a sentiment only, without understanding the real purpose, there will be no advancement. So this is the danger. So once we see, this is why the philosophy that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us, and which the Goswamis have expounded, and then Prabhupada has given us in the West, it is such a perfect system because it gives us the real ultimate situation of how we're supposed to use the Vedas. It's not that we ignore the Vedas, of course. Vedas is a very important part of spiritual life. But we need to understand that not all the sections are applicable to people who have made advancement. All of us, we have, fortunately, by our previous sanskaras and by the association that we have seeked in this lifetime, we are past all those. We are now at a stage where we can take to Nam Sankirtan and carry on making the progress. We don't need to worry about the rituals. So then talking about, the Prabhupada is saying, and that little purport like says, there will be no advancement. So actually it's a waste of time. And Prabhupada says that in the verse in the Bhagavatam 1-8. Dharma svanostita pumsam vishvakshena kathasuya not padya yadi not padya kati ratin shrama eva hi kevalam shrama eva hi kevalam. It's only waste of time. Says occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke attraction for the message of the personality of God. So this is the situation of these occupational duties or rituals. If they don't get to the stage of getting interested in the message of the Lord, then it is shrama eva hi kevalam. It is just so much useless labor, like Prabhupada says. And in the purport, Prabhupada says there are different occupational activities in terms of man's different conceptions of life. To the gross materialist who cannot see anything beyond the gross material body, there is nothing beyond the senses. Therefore, his occupational activities are limited to concentrated and extended selfishness. Can anybody explain what Prabhupada is saying? Concentrated and extended selfishness?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Sorry, I'm just barging in all the time.
No problem, go on.
Concentrated selfishness means just serving myself, my senses, and extended selfishness means serving my family and my country and my whatever community and that.
Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. So one is closer in terms of yourself and your family. The other is in community, country, and wider, like that. Yes. So constant. So this is what happens when they don't have the knowledge of, so there's something beyond the gross body. But he says, but above the body and mind is the dormant spirit soul, whose absence from the body makes the whole range of bodily and mental selfishness completely null and void. But the less intelligent people have no information of the need of the spirit soul. So you see, by all this concentrated and extended selfishness, they are just basically wrapped in this whole gross enjoyment, gross material life, and they have done nothing for the soul. And soon, at the age of 60, 70, 80, wherever time comes to leave this body, and they've done nothing for the spirit soul, in which case they're going to then go downwards somewhere in a cycle of birth and death. So dangerous. So the example example about rising from the rituals, above the rituals. So here's an example. Who is this personality? It's Madhvendra Puri. So Madhvendra Puri, at one point, when he actually he decides that yes, I'm not going to now worry about the rituals. So he composed this. He spoke this very beautiful verse. It says, "Sandhya vadana bhadram astu bhavato bhasnana tubhyam namo bhudeva pittarasta tarpana vidau naham shamayatam yatra kwapi nishadya yadava kulottamasya kamsha drisha smaram agham harami tat alam manye kim anyana me. He says, "Oh Lord, in my prayers 3 times a day, all glories to you. Bathing, I offer my obeisances unto you. O demigods, O forefathers, please excuse me for my inability to offer you my respects. Now, wherever I sit, I can remember the great descendant of the Yadu dynasty, Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, and thereby I can free myself from all sinful bondage. I think this is sufficient for me." So he's actually apologizing to the forefathers and the demigods and everything else, saying, "Look, I'm not able to now spend time with you because I found a perfect situation which is sufficient for me." And Prabhupada, in the purport of that particular phrase, that verse, he says, "The Vedic rites and rituals are imperative for the neophytes. Comprehending all kinds of prayers 3 times a day, taking a bath early in the morning, offering respects to the forefathers, etc. But when one is fully in Krishna consciousness and is engaged in transcendental loving service, one becomes indifferent to all these regulated principles because he has already attained perfection. If one can reach the platform of understanding by service to the Supreme Lord Krishna, he has no longer to execute different types of penances and sacrifices as recommended in the revealed scriptures. And similarly, if one has not understood that purpose of the Vedas is to reach Krishna and simply engage in the simply engages in the rituals, etc., then he's uselessly wasting his time in such engagements. Persons in Krishna consciousness transcend the limit of Shabda Brahman, or the range of Vedas and Upanishads. So this phrase Shabda Brahma is used also in the verse of today. So there are many rituals to satisfy the forefathers, the demigods, and all other living entities, etc., etc. And there's a beautiful verse in the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, text 41. Devarshi bhutapta ninam pittinam na kinkara nayam rinicha rajan sarvatmaya saranam saranyam gato mukundam parihitya kartam. This explains that this particular theme we're talking about. He says, "O king," and this is who's speaking who. So Narad Muni is actually speaking to Vasudeva here, King Vasudeva. He says, "O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately." Right? So this is literally, in one sense, saying that once we are worshipping the Lord Krishna, all other responsibilities that we had are taken care of. Yatha taror mula nisechanena krittanti yat tat tripititad skanda bhujobi shakham, which means by pouring water on the root of the tree, the trunk, the branches, the leaves, everything gets nourished. And pranopaharacha yathendriyanam tathaiva sarvahanam achyuteja. So he says similarly, as supplying food to the stomach also enlivens the senses and the parts of the body. So similarly, just by worshipping Achyuta, by worshipping Lord Krishna in devotional service, all demigods are completely satisfied. So we just need to have faith in that. That's all. You have to need the faith in that. Then in this particular purport, Prabhupada quotes this verse from 3rd canto, 33:7. Prabhupada says that in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:33:7, such disregard of rituals by the advanced transcendentalists is explained as follows. And he is now quoting this verse, which is spoken by Devhuti to Lord Kapila. Ahobatasva pacho to gariyan yad jivagre vartate namatubhyam te pustapaste juvuhu Sunsur Arya Brahmanuchu Nama Grinanti Yete. So Prabhupada doesn't give the full translation in this purport today, but we can I got it from the Bhagavatam here. It says, "Oh, how glorious are they whose tongues are chanting the holy name. Even if born in the family of dog eaters, such persons are worshipable. Persons who chant the holy name of your Lordship must have executed all kinds of austerities and fire sacrifices and achieved all good manners of the Aryans. To be chanting the holy name of your Lordship, they must have bathed at holy places of pilgrimage, studied the Vedas, and fulfilled everything required." So, so exactly the meaning of this verse, today's verse, right? So anybody who's actually come to the level of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which includes all of us here, if we are chanting the holy name of the Lord sincerely, then even though you may not remember doing all these things, but you can take it for granted that in our previous lives, we have done all these things. Prabhupada says in that purport, one should not be astonished by this statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. One should not disbelieve or think, how by chanting the holy name of the Lord can one become a holy man to be compared to the most elevated Brahmana. To eradicate such doubts in the minds of unbelievers, this verse affirms that the stage of chanting the holy name of the Lord is not sudden, but that the chanters have already performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices, of course, in our previous lives, right? Then he's quoting the famous example. He says the famous example, of course, this was presented by Lord Chaitanya, who accepted Thakur Haridas as one of his most important disciples. So as we all know, Haridas Thakur was born in a Muslim family, but he became such a close devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave him a title of, what is he called? Haridas Thakur is
Namacharya.
Namacharya. Well done. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Prabhu. Namacharya. So just a couple of verses I picked up from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antyalila, talking about Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Yebe, how does it go? Haridas Yebe Nija Grihat Yaga Kaila Beno Polera Vana Madhye Kata Dina Rahila Nirjana Vane Kutira Kari Tulasi Sevana, Ratri Dine Tina Lakshana Nama Sankirtan. Tina Lakshana, 300,000 names. So he says, after leaving his home, Haridas Thakur stayed for some time in the forest of Benapur. Haridas Thakur constructed a cottage in a solitary forest. There he planted a tulsi plant, and in front of the tulsi he would chant the holy name of the Lord 300,000 times daily. He chanted throughout the entire day and night. So it is said that he used to chant. We chant 16 rounds, and we complain that this takes too long. Haridas Thakur used to chant 300,000, which means 192 rounds a day, every day. So this is the power of chanting the names. And here's a situation where Prabhupada is quoting him here. So yeah, Haridas Thakur, the history here is that he was born in a Muslim family, because in his previous life, okay, who was he in his previous life? Anybody?
Lord Brahma.
Lord Brahma.
Yes, Lord Brahma. Thank you. He was Lord Brahma. And then how come he ended up in a Muslim family?
I remember, I think, Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
I think because he did the offense to Lord Krishna, stealing the cowherd boys. So then he goes and pray to Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, saying that, no, excuse me. So then he said that I need a life so that I will always remember you. So he put me into so much lower state. So I will remember you. Don't give me the higher life, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah,
Yes,
so
yes.
I think he
No, yeah,
asked
I
for
think
that.
Venkat Prabhu, you got it almost all okay, because yes, that was a pastime, Lord Brahma. But the main point was, Venkat Prabhu, he's saying that because I am Brahma and because I am so powerful, I got so proud that I doubted your pastimes. So next time, please give me birth in a very low family so that I have no pride, so I do not commit this offense again. This is why it was by his choice that he was born in a Mlecha family. But then, of course, by Krishna's mercy, he got association with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And in the end, as we know, he got the honor of his final rites being performed by nobody, none other than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. Such a fortunate soul. So devotees, we will end here. And I will open for any comments, questions, or corrections. So
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Rupa Mataji.
I have a question. Why can't we just chant the holy names and a Sankirtan and not do, so there are a little bit of rituals in Krishna consciousness as well. Certain, I think certain devotees are attracted to certain rituals. I think that's why they are there, but they are so many. Even it starts with chanting, but then it increases into one after the other. And so why can't we just chant the
Okay,
whole Sankirtan? That's
good. Very, very, very good question, actually. So there's two angles to look at this. Prabhupada says in one of the purports we read today that in the neophyte state, the rituals are very necessary, because unless you pass through the rituals, you're not going to come to the pure chanting of the name. So that's one way of looking at that. That all of us may have performed the rituals, but maybe not perfectly. So maybe we need to still do some rituals. So there are rituals that we can do, but these rituals are not the arduous rituals that some other people do. They're doing such amazing austerities and tapa, which are not necessary. Our rituals are basically, waking up in the morning, doing the Tulsi Puja, having deity worship. All those are rituals, right? Sankam emulating the Tulsi, all that, right? So one could say these are all rituals, offering bhoga and all that. One could say that this is all not necessary, but at the same time, it is said that, okay, number one, we may still need it because we or maybe not in the stage of perfection yet. That's one. Second angle of looking at it is what was in my mind then is that it's just gone. One is that, and the other is yes. The other is that all the other things that we're doing actually they are supplementary. So if you're doing your deity worship properly, your chanting will be enhanced, and vice versa. So all the activities that Prabhupada has given us, they're carefully chosen, Rupa Ben, to help us enhance our chanting. At the end of the day, everything we're doing will help us to enhance our chanting. If we're doing good deity worship, we will be able to remember the Lord's feet when we're chanting more, right? And then somebody who is not doing deity worship. So it's like a simple example like that, right? So yeah, two ways to look at it. But
Thank you
yes,
very much, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
thank you, Papa. Thank you for raising that question. Sure. Anybody saying nothing on the chat box? Oh, something just come up. Okay, should be Mataji. Hare Krishna should be then. In that picture of Prabhupada looked early 70s. Yeah, did the hippie culture, etc., seep into the organization? Must have been hard for him to handle. Wow. Yeah, good question. So, Surabhi Mataji, all the early devotees, all of them, in fact, almost 100%. If you look at the very first year of Krishna consciousness in America, 1966, maybe I would say 100% of the people who were following Srila Prabhupada were all hippies. So it was, in one sense, you're saying it must have been difficult. Yes, it must have been difficult for Prabhupada because the hippies had bad habits. right? So there was a time when somebody would be smoking ganja, they would be drinking, so he would turn up drunk and all that. Prabhupada actually was so magnanimous that he tolerated all that. Because he was not looking at the externals, he was looking at the pure souls. He knew that these souls are pure and eventually they will become great devotees. So yes, he told, but at the same time, on the flip side, because of the hippie culture, the hippie culture is basically called the counterculture, right? And at that time, all these youngsters, they were rebelling against the prevailing system. They hated the government. They hated the fact that the government was sending people to the Vietnam War, against their will. They hated this materialistic mentality that parents had, all money, money, money. So they were searching for something different. So this was an opening that Prabhupada got, right? Because they were searching for a different way of life, they paid attention to Prabhupada. And this was his opening. So in one way, the hippie culture, as you mentioned, was difficult because they had bad habits. It took some time to shake them. But because they were all looking for something, an alternative way of life, they were more favorable to listen to Srila Prabhupada. There were stories where I forget the name of the devotee who was actually carving the very first set of Jagannath deities in San Francisco. It was an expert carver and it was devotee. He joined the temple and he was staying there. But he had obviously not shaken his bad habits. So it is said that one time he was carving the deities and Prabhupada decided to go and check up and see how the deities were looking. They were not finished yet. So when he entered the room where this devotee was working, he found that on the head of Lord Jagannath, there was a pack of cigarettes. Of course, the devotee was not smoking in front of Prabhupada, but he had left it there just by accident. So Prabhupada looked at that. He just, with his cane, he just flicked that packet off the head of Lord Jagannath. And he said he said one sentence to this devotee. He says, do not let this 3-inch cigarette come in between you and the Supreme Lord. And from that day on, this devotee stopped smoking. So yes, you're right. So there were bad habits. But then because of the association of such a powerful devotee like Prabhupada, they were able to shake the habits off very quickly. Very quickly.
Was his name Mukunda? I think his name was Mukunda.
I said, yes, Mukunda Prabhu. I think so. Yes, you're right. Probably, yeah. He then became Mukunda Swami.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, yes.
Thank you for the answer. It was a good one.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay. If there's no other questions, we can call it a day. Thank you so much, devotees, for tuning in every day that you do. Mancha kalpataru Vishnu Kripasin to the Prabhupada ki jai.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mukesh Bhai.
Hare Krishna, Miraben. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Hare
all
Krishna,
devotees.
Miraben. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
મુકેશ ભાઈ આપણે મંદિરમાં નેક્ટર ઓફ not devotion but nectar of instruction ગુજરાતીમાં મળે છે?
હા, yeah, nectar of instruction છે ગુજરાતીમાં. આપણી પાસે? I think we have a copy, so maybe we'll bring it to you. We'll find out.
મેં અવિનાશ ભાઈને મેસેજ મૂકેલો કે હું શોધીશ. નહીં મળે તો હું તમારી ચોક્કસ લઈશ, મને આપજો.
I'll have to check because I know I had one. Whether I've given it to somebody or not, I'm not sure, but I will check and come back.
કારણ કે આવતા ગુરુવારથી 5 વાગે રૂકમાદાસ પ્રભુ છે ને એ ગુજરાતીમાં શરૂ કરવાના છે.
Okay, nectar of instructions.
હા.
Okay, fine. I'll find it for you, and then I'll bring it to you before next Thursday if I have it. If I don't have it, I'll let you know as well.
અને હરિનામ સંઘમાં આપણે ભાગવત શરૂ થયું છે ને?
This is for the Eldoret Sangha, right?
5 વાગે આનંદ આવે છે.
unfortunately, the time is not convenient for me that time. I've been on some sessions, but not recently. Well, it's fantastic. Very nice to know that.
એટલે જ તમે કેમ એમાં નથી કરાવતા અમને સત્સંગ આપણે સ્પીકર તમે આવો તો કઈ તમારી પાસેથી પણ જાણવા મળે.
No, she was asking me a long time ago, but Umilaben, as I mentioned to you, I have so many other services that I'm doing that I'm not finding time. I'm busy literally from morning to the night with many services that I do with the manor.
તો આપણે આજ 8 વાગ્યાનો 7:45 વાગ્યાનો અત્યારે જે સત્સંગ છે એમાં પછી ભાગવત કહેશે.
I don't know. I asked him a question. He hasn't replied. Let's see. Just wait. There's only a few days left. Next week or so, we'll find out.
એટલે બહુ હાઈ નહીં કરી નાખે ને, કારણ કે ગીતા આમ જોઈએ તો તમે આ બધા વધારે એક્સપર્ટ છે નોલેજમાં પણ ને ભક્તિમાં પણ. પણ બહુ હાઈ થઈ જાય તો પછી જે બિગિનર્સ હોય એ લોકોને અઘરું પડે.
So yeah, the thing is that I'm speaking English because there's English people on the call right now. So yes, the point is that it's just because we're going to finish Bhagavad Gita, because we started in chapter 7, so we will finish at the end of this chapter 6. But that doesn't mean the Bhagavad Gita or any scripture is not like you read it once and put it away. The more you read it, every time you read it, we'll get new meanings of it. The people are reading it over and over again. So we can continue reading. As far as I'm concerned, we can continue reading the Bhagavad Gita, because for many people, the Bhagavatam may be still too high, and maybe people will start losing devotees. So perhaps we can just continue reading it, and it's nourishing. Every time you read the Bhagavad Gita, it gives you more taste. And then, of course, there are other sessions where Bhagavatam is going on anyway. So if you want to listen to Bhagavatam, you have now the Eldoret Sangha. You have the morning class. Every day in the morning, you can listen to the manor. There's Bhagavatam class going on. And on the online, there are so many Bhagavatam classes. But
media manner કરીને કરવાનું ને.
That's the one. Yeah, that's the one. I sent the link on the group. So yeah, every day you have fantastic speakers speaking Bhagavatam there. So there's so many opportunities. So let's see what is up to Divanam Prabhu to decide which way he wants to go on the chat group. But if he wants to go Bhagavatam, fair enough, we'll do that. But if he wants to continue with Bhagavad Gita, that's also fine as far as I'm concerned.
મને તો ગીતા પણ જાણવી છે વધારે, કારણ કે હું તો એટલું જ્ઞાન મને નથી મળ્યું, કારણ કે આપણી જ ઘરે ખાલી સત્સંગ થતો હતો ને હું ક્યાં જતી હતી. એટલે મને ગીતા થાય એ પણ આનંદ આવશે.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.